Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. If 5 theme seasons have taught us anything about crossovers, it's that most are like the Sith. Always 2 there are. I'm taking issue with Batman Deadpool, written by Grant Morrison, with artists Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez. Where some reviewers may wait until another year to do this, I already made the title card. Let's see if Bruce and Wade's second go-round makes us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The cover is neat, though a tad confusing. Bats and pool facing off, swords against taser weapons, knuckle stunners, if you will, watched by a golden background of what looks like angels, both the human-looking ones and the biblically accurate variety of the large eyeball with wings. No offense to the creators, but I think need divine powers in order to get seats might be hyping your MMA bout just a little too much. After a page that largely includes Lobo, I assume for funsies, and squeaking past the credits, we begin in, Anthropomorpho's bar? Hangout for physical representations of universes, I guess, like DC's Kismet in green and Marvel's Eternity in blue, each dancing alone until they get closer and start making out. What makes this really weird is that they were dancing to the Oscar Mayer hot dog song. We go to Gotham with fireworks lighting the night sky. I know you're there, Batman. Why do you think I'm so scared I can't even pee my pants like I oughta? Trust me, it's fine. Sometimes it's funny when a crook wets themselves at the sight of me, but frankly, the stench during interrogation just isn't worth it anymore. This man, Victor Gover, admits to doing wrong and deserving punishment, but is devastated that his fiancée was used to get to him, and died as a consequence. Bats tells him that maybe nothing can bring her back, but if Victor uses his photographic memory to provide some details, the Dark Knight will see to it Amanda Waller's crew won't get away with what they've done. His next stop is Iea in Greece, radioing to someone else to wait for his signal. He's searching for a reality-altering artifact which has led him to a temple littered with dead were-creatures and checkmate soldiers who were working for Waller. He spots a batarang that doesn't appear to be his, as a hand reaches for him, seeming to extend from the very gutters of the page. As famously prepared as he is, I doubt Batman has anticipated the comic itself attacking him. A Title II pager suddenly sees Bats impaled with numerous arrows and held by a crying Deadpool, who warned him that something like this would happen. Dan DiDio put Bruce on his kill list? That almost makes the New 52 seem like a smart idea. Almost. The other half of the page flashes back to earlier, with Wade fighting off rubber hose cartoon ninjas, while assuring the reader he'll provide context. We just need to trust him, after heavily suggesting he can see the reader in the act of, as the previous crossover put it, aggressive self-care.
Phrasing?
He's caught in the explosion of some evil rubber duckies, and lands at the feet of his caped co-star, who has Wade's feet. I was designed to function without feet. He was co-created by Rob Liefeld, so that tracks. A tune is playing, key of C to the key of D, on repeat, so Batman hits the appropriate notes on the piano at the feet of a rather large owl statue. He wonders if this stranger is some version of Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, but the Merc just cracks jokes, while trying to slice up the Dark Knight. He gets his butt kicked, then follows Batman downstairs, to a swanky lounge full of Easter eggs, insisting the attack was just to make sure he wasn't some cosplaying rando. He also gets annoyed by the insinuation that he's a copy of Deathstroke, when he's really his own thing. I'm Wade Wilson! Wade! Deadpool!
That's the coolest name ever!
Apparently this bat is from a different reality than the one he worked with in their first crossover. So they have little choice but to learn to work together all over again, as they hop into a swan pedal boat down a river into a tunnel with a giant Joker head with an open mouth as the entrance. Oh, I've had bad dreams like this, mostly after massive head injuries or eating spoiled Mexican food. Among his persistent rambling, Wade admits to being unnerved by their surroundings, as neither has any memory of how they ended up in this strange place. Am I the bold? Are you the brave? I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm a detective. I look for clues, patterns. They're all around us, and I have a theory. The secret gopher uprising has begun. They disembark the boat and see a basketball and net, with Bats pointing out that there's one word that links it to all the other clues they've found. The piano, the map of Florida, and so on. Wade's not interested in guessing games, just telling his cohort to say it already, when they're attacked by more black and white toon ninjas. Betty Boop started her own version of the League of Assassins. Who knew? During the fight, Bats questions how Deadpool knows him, and Deadpool responds, among other things, that the Dark Knight has plot armor stronger than adamantium. Pony Ears takes this as a cue to test his theory, daring the ninjas to attack. Show me what you've got! Oh no, the ninjas are going to get swifty! He gets impaled by dozens of arrows, but assures that this is a fabrication by the White Owl, revealed on a 2-page spread as Cassandra Nova, psychically immobilizing our stars with her hands in their noggins. Hope she at least washed up first. Long story short, for the uninformed, she's Professor Xavier's twin sister, whom he tried to kill in the womb because he could sense how evil she was. Siblings, am I right, folks? However, she has a nasty habit of coming back from the dead, and when she found out Wade was looking for a weapon that could finish her off permanent-like, she duped the world's greatest detective into finding it first. But no matter how far she goes into his mind, he's not giving up the location, even seeming to get her hand burned inside his head for a moment before resuming her torture. It's so like Bruce to forget to turn off his brain stove. How many Batmen are there?
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I am Batman.
Deadpool promises not to let the Caped Crusader die, as back in the mental prison, he lugs his new pal to a Lazarus pit and drops him in. You forgot to check if it'd been an hour since he last ate. That's the real reason people come out of there temporarily insane. Surprise, it's Darklaw who emerges from the mystical pool, the amalgam hero fusing Bats with Wolverine. They have a bloody fight that takes them across a giant typewriter, but I guess we assume Wolvie's half, the one with the healing factor, worked through that temporary insanity, because Claw insists they can still win, thanks to a partner that never does what he's told.
How about Chuck Norris with a BB gun?
That's when Damien drops down on the Great White Owl and starts nunchucking her bald head, allowing her two captives to make way to the fortress Bats was investigating. Making their way past some dead bestiomorphs, they arrive at what looks like a dead Batman and an obscured figure holding the weapon they've been looking for, hinted at in Batsy's mind via clues referencing keys, the cosmic keyboard, which allegedly can rewrite reality. Dibs on using it next, I called it! The artifact was lost when a D-tier villain called the Writer was killed on a Suicide Squad mission, the same one Victor Gover was on as the Sportsmaster, which is why Waller's people wanted him and subsequently killed his fiancée. The shadowed individual, complementing the detective's smooth exposition, adds that the keyboard dropped them on Earth 7642, home reality of the downed Bat. Even if Cassandra Nova were to get a hold of it, it wouldn't work for her, or alter canon again.
I have trouble with this baseball.
And that's when the twist occurs. Nova plunges her hand into the stranger's head, deciding she'll dictate what she wants to her new puppet who will type it out for her, like turning Batman and Deadpool into cannibals who will devour their loved ones. Being a cannibal doesn't necessarily mean Bruce will lose his civility or manners, and only Alfred will know the proper time and temperature to cook everyone at. Huge flaw in your plan right there, lady. Unfortunately for the villainess, her control isn't taking, and the stranger demonstrates a technique for when one encounters writer's block. In this case, merging our main characters into Dead Bat, who charges with a sword ready to swing. Before you know it, she's a head in a jar, ready to be delivered to the Time Variance Authority, who hired Deadpool in the first place. A is for atom, B is for bomb, C for the children.
D, damnation. E, eternal damnation.
Our stars are on different sides of a chasm, parting ways. And it turns out Batman 7642 isn't actually dead, just unconscious, so there's that. The stranger has to go, mentioning that the cosmic conjunction that triggered the keyboard is over, and there's an executive order to rebuild the fourth wall to keep unwanted ideas out. Not that Bats knows what he's talking about. As Robin meets up with his dad, Batman asks if not rewrite canon, what can the stranger do with the keyboard? Tedious and hyperbolic yearly events, temporary character deaths meant for shock value, jotting down the recipe for a low-sodium cream of celery soup. We go to a cosmic bedroom where it seems eternity and Kismet have just finished, well...
Sex!
It's suggested they may hook up again, and it appears she's about to rate him over their tryst. But the story's not quite done yet, as we return to Gotham and Victor Gover's apartment. He's pouring himself another drink, brandishing a gun, but hears someone at the door. He opens it to find his fiancée. They embrace, and the story ends on Batman on the roof, fireworks still going, as he says, "Happy Holidays." So she was canonically dead, but the cosmic keyboard that wasn't going to change canon brought her back from canonical death. Okay. Before I get to the summation, we've got backup stories to look at. First up is A Magician Walks into a Universe, where artists Hayden Sherman and Mike Spicer are joined by writers Joshua Williamson, Scott Snyder, and James Tynion IV?
No. Oh, my shrink was right. God does hate me.
I guess that executive-mandated fourth wall didn't get built quickly enough. Anyway, John Constantine is walking through Marvel's New York City, narrating how some cosmic incident has caused two universes' magics to get all tangled together. He figures he needs to set things right before it gets really out of control, and that brings him to the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's the sort of thing you need to speak to a doctor about. And maybe he can also tell me if this growth on my foot is a demon's curse or a bad case of gout. Stephen Strange lets him in, having expected a visit from his opposite given the severity of magical entanglements. John rolls with it, saying he's totally a sorcerer supreme like him, and that he can fix the interdimensional damage, but it's Stephen who has the tools for the job. The duct tape is in the garage, third cabinet on the left of the side window. There is more than magic to the problem, the best descriptive being horror. Their reality's magics move differently, but also scare differently, and their respective figures of horror have begun fighting each other. And they go together like me and a f***ing unicorn. That explains why a Hellblazer My Little Pony crossover never got off the ground. As Ghost Rider starts dragging Swamp Thing along, John goes on that DC's creatures of mystery are of darker shadows, like scary stories you tell, not to find one's inner goodness, but to plunge into the deepest corners of the mind and contend with what's there. I'm sure that could apply to Swamp Thing, but Ghost Rider's signature power is to inflict someone with every sin and every harm they've ever inflicted on others. Doesn't exactly suggest less dark than a dude turned into a plant creature. As Swampy turns the tables on the writer, Constantine insists Marvel magic is cosmic lights and special totems, and the Doctor wouldn't know the dirtier parts of the world. The British man isn't a hero, but he'll fix what needs fixing before people get hurt, and he's seen the darker parts of man's soul. No one understands me. You're not my real magician, Dad. Stephen can tell he's lying, having detected his guest's multiple attempts to cast sleeping spells on him, likely to steal something, so he magically binds John. After all, Stephen Strange understands selfish men, having been rather selfish himself, and his world is far darker than its polished exterior may suggest. I've had Wolverine, Beast, and the Hulk sleep over for a weekend. Don't tell me I don't understand filth. John suddenly headbutts him and takes what he came for, the Eye of Agamotto, figuring it's no different from any other magical trinket. He activates it, then his eyes go blank, except for that new one on his forehead, and he sees that the Sorcerer Supreme isn't called Doctor Strange for nothing.
Real doctor or PhD?
PhD.
On another two-pager, battles continue between Ghosty and Swampy, as well as demonic entities, Mephisto and Neron. Constantine is overwhelmed by what the eye shows him, but Stephen says he can see it too, and that this is too much for one man, so they must work together to heal this particular wound. As they witness the beauty of their different magics thriving, the combatants are returned to their proper realities, then go about their usual businesses. Tormenting souls, making unholy deals, inflicting pain on evildoers, telling those Chia Pet people for the 7th time he doesn't want to be their mascot. The experience showed Stephen how self-destructive his counterpart is, but realizes he does what he does because he genuinely cares. Even so, it's best that he went back home. But John asks if the good doctor would like to see what his world's horrors are like, and the story ends with Strange giving it some serious consideration. This was a pretty good story, very much to the point, its stars seeming fairly in character, from my experience, and the threat was both simply explained and understandably severe. I liked the moment of John realizing he's in over his head, and that he may have seen some dark stuff, but he can still be surprised. The art showcased different styles in the same panels to exemplify the different natures of these universes, as well as employing some very creative panels. Not sure it needed 3 writers, though. On the other hand, considering how Tynion has previously used technology and poetry like they were basically magic, if it was only him writing, the problem would have been solved by someone smashing their face on a laptop while quoting Shakespeare, and it probably would have been Harper Row. Next is Sticks and Snicks, written by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo and Adriano Lucas. Laura Kinney was visiting Gotham with her sister Gabby, who's a clone of Laura created by Alchemex, and they were walking their pet when both it and the girl went missing, with the trail leading to the sewers.
Ew, I hope that thing that just floated by was a candy bar.
Laura initially went out looking for Batman, but found Nightwing, and I guess they exchanged secret identities given their narration boxes. Is this for some superhero crossover insurance paperwork or something? They even briefly mentioned their childhoods, how Grayson was raised in the circus before growing up in a mansion, and how young Miss Kinney spent her childhood in a lab to become an assassin. Oh hey, small world. My brother was forced to be a child assassin. Are we maybe forgetting someone, Richard? Richard! He spots claw marks on the wall, with traces of blood and scales, but doesn't say anything to avoid upsetting his partner. Wolverine points out she and her sister heal, so he needn't worry about keeping stuff from her. She asks what he can do, and Nightwing answers what he can.
Wait, are you just a regular guy?
Hey, I didn't give you grief for originally being from a cartoon, so let's move on, okay? At the end of the tunnel, among some bony remains, is an open part of the sewers with cages hanging from the ceiling, one of which holds Gabrielle. Laura cuts the bottom open as Wing dives to catch her, and that bone sticking out of her hand is totally normal for her. That's when the monster that abducted her appears, Killer Croc. Lady Wolvie is impressed that the guy with no powers puts himself between them and the scaly brute, while Grayson notices Laura's ferocity as she engages in battle, and that her fear for her sister's well-being still comes with some precision. She has death at the ends of her hands, and her feet, but I can see every extra effort she's making not to inflict a fatal blow. All the energy she's using to hold back. And this doesn't remind you of anyone else? Maybe it's just as well. They'd probably allude to that retcon mess just to tick me off specifically, because I'm so important, you see. Croc yields, begging her to stop, and more scared than the vigilante has ever seen him.
Big people feel pain too.
Turns out he didn't abduct Gabby, but her pet Wolverine, Jonathan, and the girl went after him. Yeah, she could have been eaten, but it wouldn't be the first time.
It's inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world. Though there is the lingering stench after getting past.
After taking care of Croc, he brings the two to the watchtower, so Gabby can meet Grayson's dog, Haley, no longer thinking canines are quite so boring a pet for a hero.
I'm sorry I called you mundane, Haley. You are clearly one of the greatest dogs to ever dog.
I don't know Gabby. I don't know Haley, but this is already one of my favorite interactions in the book. Maybe for crossovers in general. When Nightwing says that, yeah, Batman's basically his dad, the girl figures he's a nepo hero like Laura, which he admits is kinda true. So Grayson and Kinney head up to the roof, gaze at the city, talk some more about their youth, father figures, the pressure of legacy, and how few people can understand what it's like living up to the giants who are the best they are at what they do, as we close on their mentors' images in the clouds.
You must avenge my death, Kimba. I mean, Simba. Luke, I am your father. This is CNN.
I really liked this one, easily showing Grayson's compassion and empathy, along with Laura's level of restraint despite her ferocity. While a certain Batgirl would have been a good match for this team-up given their similar history, as more of a mirrored counterpart, Nightwing and Wolverine provide more story to tell, learning each other's nuances rather than what I imagine would be quicker understanding from the get-go if Cass was involved. Next is Amazin' Saturday with Hulk and Harley Quinn, from writer Mariko Tamaki and artists Amanda Connor and Tamara Bonvillain, who I'm sure is tired of correcting people who pronounce it Bond-villain. We start out with the two covered in weird goop, Harley remarking how she had planned on just getting a relaxing massage, but things took a turn as we go back in time when she was at the carnival getting extra chili on her chili dog. An alien robot drove by on its space scooter, chased by the Hulk, in whom Quinn takes immediate interest, even to the point where there are hearts in her eyes and spinning around her head. She clearly has a thing for green and purple. Maybe if Joker cosplayed as Piccolo from DBZ, he could win her back. They follow the robot to a waste facility, and I've gotta give points for that name, Carson O. Jen, when the bot and the hot dog stand it was accidentally carrying go over a ledge and into a large vat of toxic sludge. No explanation what happened to the machine, I guess we assume it got destroyed, but the dogs mutate into living, ravenous sausages that start attacking the pair, without a care for the unusually high sodium content found in your average Hulk. Spotting a temperature switch above them, Harley convinces Jolly Green to hurl her towards it, letting her kick it from the hot setting to deep freeze. This causes a chilling explosion that takes out the mutant hot dogs and leaves Harley wanting to do it all over again as Hulk carries her out. This is a cute, short and sweet story of an accidental team-up, almost like a Looney Tunes short, which kinda works for Quinn. Hulk doesn't get much in the way of dialogue, but I can't think of anything he would say that would make much of a difference. Good art, but my one big criticism is choosing the two-toned hair she had early in the New 52. I just don't think it looks very good, even if here it's paired with a much better costume than they gave her in the aforementioned Big Dumb reboot. Finally, we have New Friends in Old Places, written by G. Willow Wilson, with art by Denise Cowan, Klaus Janson, and Francesco Sagala. And for some reason this bird in a tree has a baseball cap on. I don't know if this is a reference, or just something funny the artist thought up, or if it's something more sinister. What's your game, little critter? Stop mocking me, hat-wearing bird! Kamala Khan has just finished dinner, narrating how home can drive you nuts and makes you responsible for what goes wrong, just as the news reports of a sudden attack on the city. We then jump to Virgil Hawkins' place, where dinner is about to begin. His take on home is a little different, that it's where you're from and where you leave. Between the two of them, these kids have got the makings of a solid country song at work here. What's this about a B+ in biology, Virgil? That's not like you. Please tell me you're still at least getting C's in algebra. Apparently his grades have slipped a bit because he has a lot going on, but before he can try and explain what that means, his phone buzzes, apparently with news that a giant monster is wrecking a city where a cute girl who's in the news a lot happens to live. So he bails, to his parents' irritation. When Miss Marvel arrives to deal with the giant monster wrecking stuff, she finds an unfamiliar face, Static, promising to take care of the creature. When you've stopped paying attention to your own backyard, sometimes you walk outside and discover some new guy has moved in next door. Also, the grass is almost a foot long, there are a whole lot of new weeds, and you're wondering if anything has made a nest since you last mowed. Static nearly flies right into the beast's mouth, if not for an embiggen punch by Miss Marvel. They make quick introductions. That becomes an argument about which one will add the other to a group chat. Being ignored by such trivialities has got to be offensive to this giant monster, and I'm betting that's the real reason it roars at them. The young heroes agree on a quick strategy and begin working together to defeat Dime Store Godzilla as the story ends. All you have to do is step outside your door to discover that new guy is the friend you didn't know you needed. Especially if you can convince him to taser people you don't like. This was alright, though the philosophical musings of home feel kind of underdeveloped. At first I thought Static had actually moved to Kamala's turf, but more likely he just traveled there when he heard about the danger, and possibly hoping to meet a girl he was crushing on. It ends less like a romance is going to blossom, and more that these young supers discover they complement each other when fighting kaiju. Feels like there could have been more to this with either more pages or their own standalone crossover book. Now let's come back around to the main story, Batman Deadpool. I thought it was pretty good. The story is rather complex, so written by Grant Morrison, but it's still plenty clever. The red herring that the Court of Owls could be involved, various clues relating to Keys, though I imagine some might have missed the map to the Florida Keys, and those who don't follow sports probably wouldn't know how key can refer to a section of the basketball court or a fundamental game strategy. So yes, I had to look that up. The Lazarus Pit room having portraits of characters that either embody or represent death, I thought was darkly whimsical. And I'll just go out on a limb and say that the tune that was playing throughout, Key of C to Key of D, was the 60s Batman theme song, incorporating something decades old in the Bat franchise into a modern-day tale. So, written by Grant Morrison. There's also this quote graffitied on the wall at the beginning: "The plot need not be the best possible." Apparently this was said by Dick Giordano when a script for an early Avengers JLA crossover was declined for being too weak to sell books, and the project was later cancelled. It's meant to emphasize that these characters meeting up is meant to be more about the fun, and that's what this story exemplified. Wacky scenarios, Wade Wilson's off-kilter and sometimes spicy non-sequiturs, an outlandish artifact that may well be called a magical laptop, all combined with a serious threat posed by Cassandra Nova. Clearly, the unnamed typist who essentially saves the day is supposed to be Grant Morrison, because why not some self-indulgence, I guess. So obviously, this was taking Giordano's words to heart. My biggest and probably only problem with this is the potential to take its logic too far in the wrong direction, to excuse laziness or lack of originality. You know, taking "the plot need not be the best" to "need not be that great," to "need not a second draft," to "need not have any thought put into it at all." Do you want James Tiny in the fourth? Because that's how you get James Tiny in the fourth! While it's overall entertaining and works well, I didn't see the need to have another Batman there when he's just out cold the entire time. What was the point of having him fail and bringing in another one? It doesn't really seem to get addressed at all. Was it just to give Deadpool someone to laugh at? Personally, not a fan of the crossovers our universes having sex gag. Maybe it was meant to be some kind of tongue-in-cheek extension of Kismet and Eternity making out in JLA Avengers, but this was still too crude for me. I liked the ending where Victor's fiancée came back, closing off with a bit of hope and happiness, but as mentioned earlier, it does seem to kind of contradict the whole cosmic keyboard won't rewrite canon. I liked the art, and can't find any real problems with it, though Nova seemed to de-age in a couple of panels, and for some reason, this version of Damian Wayne looks a lot more like Tim Drake. Maybe that's just how he looks in that specific universe, whichever designation it is. Maybe it's the sleeveless look. I also really dig the design for Dead Bat, an excellent blend of the two characters' aesthetics, though it does make me wonder if he wears a magazine cutout of Robert Pattinson's face over his own. Though largely disconnected from the first book, Batman Deadpool is a really good follow-up. There are lots of Easter eggs from both companies, even their time being merged together, and the backups are enjoyable as well. It may not jive with those who don't really care for Morrison's style, but otherwise I recommend giving this a try. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.